Nicole O'Neill once said, when you find the courage to use your voice, it has the power to positively inspire and change the lives of others. It is one of the special gifts you have to offer the world. It is something to be cherished and championed, never hidden. And that is why we are here on Your Voice, Your Impact. I am the energetic EJ. I am a life and transformational coach, and I work with women aged 40 and above to turn their abandoned dreams into achievable goals by activating their voice for impact. I'm also a podcaster and an event host. On this show with me is
great, so amazing. The goal of this show is to help people use their voices to create impact. I am a physicist and a life coach. What I do for my clients is I help them build systems to achieve their goals whilst having fun doing it. On this show, we discuss topical issues that can inspire you to move. Like, subscribe, and share. Welcome aboard.
All right. Yes. Welcome on board. And thank you for joining us again today on Your Voice, Your Impact. And this is one of our pop-up sessions for October. October being a month that is dedicated to wellness, mental wellness, breast cancer awareness, menopause awareness. Like there's so many awareness going on in the month of October. And so we thought, you know what, let's ride on that and lend our voices and invite experts in fields in the health and wellness field to kind of speak to some topics that we're probably don't speak enough about, or just adding to the awareness that this month has been dedicated to. And that is what this pop-up sessions are for in the month of October. I think that this is the third one now. Is it the third one? No, the second one now. The first one we talked about menopause, right? Why women should not be afraid of it, but rather learn about it, know about it, and prepare for it so that it doesn't meet you unawares and it doesn't rob you of your womanness, your feminine, vibe, I mean, it's different for each person. But then again, it's like when you are aware and then it helps you prepare better and just be in a better mental state when you get into that phase. For some people, they're actually looking forward to it because they've done the work. For some, they are afraid of it. And the whole point of the conversation was to say, you don't need to be afraid. Just learn about it and prepare for it. So today, we're going a different route. We're talking about art psychotherapy for mental health and well-being. Now, psychotherapy, therapy generally, is not something that I don't think it's now fully accepted in some part of the world. From my part of the world in Africa, when you hear therapy, it's like, that person is cuckoo. But, honestly speaking, everyone needs therapy. And to be honest, to some point, we all have therapy. We all go through therapy sessions. We just don't name it that. When you call your friend and say, I need to talk. And the friend is like, okay, yeah, let's get on a call. Okay, let's go for coffee. And then you just keep pouring, and they're listening to you and allowing you unburden yourself. That is one form of therapy, okay? So let's not close our eyes and our heart, from therapy. And there are different types of therapy, right? There's a psychological one, there's a clinical one, there are the different ones for different seasons and different conditions, so to say, right? Like for postpartum, if you've just given birth, there are women who have it very difficult, like they can't deal with it alone. So they might need to go through therapy to go through that season of their lives. For people who have gone through abuse, you might need to go through therapy to be able to unpack what happened to you and be able to heal from within. So there is such a rich area that we do not need to stigmatize, but rather be curious to know about it and which one of it we need per time, knowing when we need it and who we can talk to when we do need it. All right. And so today on the show, I have a special guest who has chosen the path of art psychotherapy. That's the path that she's chosen. Like I said, there are many different therapies, and so she's going to tell us what is art therapy, what is art psychotherapy, what is that about? How does it help people? How has she been able to use it to help people to gain therapy and to, connect back to their inner self? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And with me is our guest, Renu Sarah Thomas, who is an art psychotherapist. And she's going to give us a little bit more about her background as we get into this conversation and talk about the power of art and how you can leverage art for healing and for your mental well-being. So please, let's welcome my guest on this virtual stage today. Hello, Sarah. Oh, okay, I'll call you Renu. Hello, Renu. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you, EJ. Good to be here.
Fantastic. We're happy to have you here. Thank you for saying yes. I think when I met you, this is 1 week now, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it.
I met you a week ago and you introduced yourself at that coffee meetup by Ives. Ives, shout outs to Ivy, Yvonne Ives. When you talked about the art therapy and just, I think it was the way that you introduced yourself. And then when somebody asked, like, your hair, is it fashion or is it like natural?
Yeah.
That got attention. And he's like, oh no, it's natural. I'm like, this is wisdom. This is wisdom. I see wisdom. And so, just talking to you and knowing that you're into art psychotherapy, I'm like, okay, this kind of fits right into our pop-up session this month. And I will also love to learn more about what that is, and see how I can also share that knowledge with our audience, which is why we have you here today. So if you don't mind, just kind of give us a backdrop of your background and why you got into this space. You could have chosen any form of therapy. Why did you choose art? What's your story basically?
What's my story? Oh my. Okay. So I think, well, I was primarily an educator, and I think I still am. It's something that it's a profession that found me, and so I've taught mainstream, and I was also involved in some special needs education. Um, I was always artistic. I've liked these things, and somehow when I was actually involved in I was actually part of a recreation center for special needs. That's when I first heard of art psychotherapy. I was actually setting up a department for the using the creative arts with
Right.
special needs individuals who have left school and things like that. Then I thought, oh my goodness, this is a new form of therapy that I hadn't heard of. And like you said in your introduction, when you say therapy, everyone's like, oh, there's a wall that comes up immediately. But when you are just engaging in the arts, it's something that everyone does. But as I read more about it and met people, I realized that this is something I'd like to do, and it's quite. The way when I applied, it was almost like, okay, all the things I've done in my life sort of, joined. When you join the dots, I qualified to apply. So it was late. So late, I applied. I became a therapist later in life. So this was, I graduated in 2018. So
Wow.
that's the story of how it came to be.
Right. So just for those who, thank you for sharing that. For those who are unclear on
Mm-hmm.
what art psychotherapy is and how it differs from traditional therapy, how would you explain it for somebody who is curious to know, okay, what's the difference?
All right. So psychotherapy is basically called it's a talking therapy where the main tool that you use is your voice. So there is a therapist, there's a client or a patient, depending on where you are, and you use your voice and you talk about what is in your conscious mind. So art psychotherapy is a form of psychotherapy where, in addition to your voice, you also have the tool of, art is a tool to use as a form of expression. And it is, so in some cases, it's a main tool,
Right.
and particularly in cases where And it really and art has a way to access the subconscious, so you can access things
Mm,
that are not in your conscious mind, and a lot of things that like that we deal with are what happened in our pre-verbal stage, or when we before we learn to speak. So we can't talk
right.
about things we don't know or that we never gave words to. So in such cases, particularly art psychotherapy is very effective. And I must say that, the creative art therapies is an umbrella term where, so under that you can have music therapy,
Mm.
drama therapy, and
Dance.
dance therapy, yes. And
Mm.
art therapy, when we talk about art therapy, we are talking about the visual arts, drawing, painting,
Mm.
working with clay, any form of visual arts, photography. Yeah. So does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. It does. I love it. I particularly love the part where you said why it is quite interesting and important is because it mimics our, let's say, our better stage when we were forming as babies. And literally, if you give, when you said that, I could literally see a picture of a baby, a
Mhm.
toddler, maybe not even a toddler, just a baby sitting, for example, a baby that can sit, I can already hold things. If
Yeah.
you give that baby a pen or a crayon and a paper, they actually go ahead and put something there, right? Without
Mm-hmm.
even knowing, they probably can't put a word to it, they can't explain what it is, but then it flows from who they are. And you see,
Yeah.
so when you say that art therapy helps us almost like bypass our
Exactly.
conscious or verbal, let's say traits to get into, yay, Grace is here, to get into that place where it's like our core,
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful. And it's just like it helps you express freely and
Mm-hmm.
flow freely without any blockage of thinking, of trying to understand or capture or define things. So I think that's really beautiful. Hello, Gracie. Thank you for joining us. How are you?
Very well. I should be somewhere else, but because this particular topic is something I love, that's why I'm going to pop in here for a while before I run out. So it's nice to meet you.
You too,
Thanks for
Grace.
coming.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome. All right. So my next question for you before Gracie will take on the mic is to say that, you know, like I said earlier on, people associate therapy with mental illness. Well, how
Uh-huh.
can art therapy help everyday people, professionals, parents, creatives, manage stress, anxiety, or burnout before things spiral into, like, actually get into that real place where you're actually cuckoo? Like, maybe give us, why it's important that you don't have to wait till things get out of hand before you try out therapy. Yeah.
Well, I think if I can just piggyback on what you were saying about, when you place art materials and paper in front of a young child, or, and how it just flows. It's strange how when we do the same thing for an adult, they'll say, "Oh, I can't draw. I'm not creative." If I had a penny for every time I've heard that, it's just amazing. So the real question is, why do we feel that we're not creative? Why do
Hmm.
we think we cannot draw? Because it's the conditioning that we have as we grow up, that we are not good at something or not good enough, and that itself is the biggest block. Because what you said was, it flows so naturally, but it doesn't as adults. So that
Hmm.
itself shows a block somewhere. So it's interesting, because when people come for art therapy, it's towards the end of treatment is when the flow happens, when they're comfortable with their own style of working, and there's no longer a desire to make something that makes somebody else happy. They're doing it for,
Hmm.
So that's just something I just wanted to bring up when you mentioned that. Yes, in terms of the stigma, everyone has it. I must say that even I had it when I went for training. As part of our training, it was important that every week we went for therapy. And I was like, oh no, I have actually come to be a therapist, not
Therapist.
therapy. And they said, yes, it's for you as well. And I'm so glad that that happened, because it just opened my, the idea being that, we have to really experience something to understand it, to understand how vulnerable you feel. Because I think, in terms of, it's not really the fear of therapy. It's more of a sign of weakness, that I can't handle it, I need help. So I think it's
Right.
incredibly, yeah, it's incredibly brave for a person to acknowledge, I need some help. To stand, to sit before someone, to knock on their door and say, no, I'd like some support. And it really, unfortunately, remember when you were introducing the topic, you said, back in, you can just pick up a phone and talk to someone. That is therapy. You have a dear friend, you can talk to. And I think that before the therapy became so popular, that was the form of therapy. But today, though we have so much of connection, whether it's this kind of connection or the mobile phone or whatever, there is such a disconnect between
Disconnect.
people, you know so that is the problem. You can't pick up the phone and call anyone anymore. You're not that close to anyone, and even if you do tell someone, it's like, oh, will they tell someone else? So this fear of, or do you really have friends that you can open up to that extent? So in the
Mm,
apps, if you have, as you said, that's wonderful.
good.
But if
Yeah.
you don't, what are you going to do? So therapists, of course, we are bound by our profession not to share what's shared in the
The
therapeutic
session.
space.
Mm,
Confidentiality, a space where, and it's not really about coming and making art, talking about it. It's a place where you can just be yourself, and
mm,
that's what's more important. I want people to know that it's not that you're opening up and revealing everything, and how can I do that? It's just, you just check it out and see whether it works for you. Now I work from a gallery, and that helps, because when people come, they don't feel they've come to a clinic.
like a
And,
clinic.
or
Yeah.
yes, or if someone sees you, or if someone asks you where you're going, they can say, oh, I'm going to the
I went
gallery.
to the gallery.
So you find, as you said, find what works for you. When you look around, and there are online spaces that you can tap into. Even if it is the creative arts, there are ways of engaging in it online, if you don't have access to it from where you are. So there are
Mm,
different things. But first is to say, I'm doing this for myself. I'm not doing this, in fear of. I'm not going to let fear of what people think stop me from
getting the
finding a
help you
finding a
need.
way to improve my life.
I love it. I love it. Okay, Gracie, I'm going to pass the mic on to you from one therapist to another, because Grace is also a behavioral therapist. So, from one therapist to another, please take it away.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And one of the reasons I ran here is
Mm-hmm.
because we do art therapy for people, and they cannot sit with drawing or painting. They cannot sit with it because they find it boring. Talk about how the the buzz of being on the fast lane, doing things that would bring your adrenaline pumping, because you find out that people would rather do things that will keep, but that it's not the way for art. Art is a lot calmer and all of that. I want you to talk about how it is important to sit with painting, what it will do, even if you are not feeling that adrenaline rush that you get when you're scrolling, the endorphins and all of those things that sort of compare what comes out when one is painting, even though they find it, for some people that are not artists, they find it really boring. Someone said, I will just sit down and be painting. Do you want to kill me? I want you to talk about it so that people can
Hmm.
understand that that's where the healing actually takes place.
Well, I wouldn't say that it is through the painting alone. It is the creative process that brings about healing. Okay, so if a person doesn't like painting and finds it boring, I wouldn't force them to do that, because the visual arts can be any kind. It can be graffiti if that's what they want, and a lot of people feel that just painting or drawing can be is what children do. How can I as an adult do what kids do? It's like infantilizing them. So it's about, I mean, there are so many ways of engaging in the arts without painting, but as you said, it is a way of calming down, and it is about it does involve focus. A lot of mindfulness activities also use that because it brings focus. But the actual therapy, the art therapy, goes a little beyond that, into creative expression. It's about expressing how they feel at that time. It could be in response to a prompt or something like that, but it is the material they choose is completely up to them. Yeah, so it's about giving a variety of, because that's again giving. A lot of people don't have that sense of choice, so that itself, by giving them a choice of, you choose, I'm not going to tell you what to do, you choose, gives them that feeling, oh, so I do have choice in life. I can make choices. And that, of course, because trauma is exactly that, a feeling that you're stuck and that you have no choice. So through the arts, when you give them, you let them choose whatever they want. It could be, it depends on the space the therapist has. I mean, you could use hammer and nails to create something big. So it's not necessarily about sitting in this space. You can use your whole body to create a mural, perhaps either alone or in community. So there is an yeah, so it just depends. I can't say that it is not, so it is, I wouldn't say, the way I use it is not only for the calming down. It begins with that. If a client comes, you have, before you can reason with someone, you need to find that calm. It does support you there, but you can't, I would never force someone to do that. So it's about finding the right fit. So if you find this art and the therapist boring, it's better to find something else. Never force someone.
Yeah. So no, okay, very well said. Thank you. Now it's one thing as an adult now, growing up, of course, art was part of what we grew up doing, and
Hmm.
it was painted in, for some of us, it was painted in such a way that um it wasn't taught as a creative process, something creative. And some of
Exactly.
us got lost in that space and focused on everything. And you know how sometimes, because some of these things would always look for how to express itself, and if it doesn't find, like, as human beings, we look for ways to express ourselves because our creative mind is always there. Depends on how we try to look for ways to be expressive. Now, speaking from your response, which is a very good way to let that, you don't have to force it on anyone, but how can you help people understand that art is some level of expression? It's one thing to educate someone, it's another thing for the person to start seeing that, okay, maybe I should try it, I should, and it's all encompassing. It could come in different form, but it's under the category of being creative and, being expressive. How can you help someone change their mindset? Because I'm speaking from a place of experience, where I became a full-grown adult. I had to go through this path to understand that, oh, that's why sometimes I feel sad, because I have a lot boxed up in me and I have not looked for a way to express it, and not knowing the right knowledge, or not knowing how well to tell someone they might be struggling. So how do you help someone that might watch this later to see that, look, you're not being forced, because it's not like it's the in thing. Is, it's a mindset of understanding of how our creativity should be expressed for us to feel, the way we want to feel.
Hmm.
Did you get the question?
Uh, I think so. I'll try to answer that, and if I miss something, then you can just fill it in. So I liked what you said, that when we learn the arts, it's not taught as a creative thing. So we learn by, okay, maybe you have to draw it a certain way, and that's, I think, that's how many of us have learned, and that's when this whole thing of, oh, I'm not good at something begins. Because it's not looking like what someone has asked you to create. But what we need to realize is therapy and art therapy is something completely different. It's not an art class, and it's not helping people. People have come. It is, for a reason. Perhaps it is to deal with an existential angst, some grief, perhaps, whatever it might be. There is that fear of, I can't draw, I can't create. But the fact is, we're all born creative. No one has taken it away from us. We are creative beings. We are social beings. We are meant to be with other people, and healing is in relation with someone else. So that's what I would say, that it is within. Why do you feel you're not creative? I mean, if it happens to all of us. The first step is in meeting that person, or taking that step and meeting someone and taking it. We begin with what they come up with. If they are afraid of it, we'll say, okay, shall we try? There are some people who might want to make an art, or do something along with you. There's that fear of the blank page. So I would say, I would begin there, saying, why do you feel you're not creative? It's so healing begins when a person is able to understand that they are creative and can tap into that. Okay, then have I answered your question, Grace? For example, now someone comes, and if I go to, I might not be comfortable with dance as a therapy, but there are other forms of art. I can use music, I can use writing. A lot of people are comfortable with writing. Journal, they say, I journal. Yes, but are you doing that? But that's okay for some time. You're doing it on your own. But how can you make that into a group activity, or something that you can do in relation with the therapist? So it's good to find out what they're comfortable with, and then expand from there, rather than make them fit into someone else's box.
Thank you so much. Lastly, before I get, because I'll be running off, let me ask all my questions. Someone, I organized, a paint and grill last month, and there was someone that came with this mindset that, no, it's not for me. I'd rather dance. Funny enough, I'd rather dance than sit, and it's all boring. And then we sort of insisted, because if we were going to do things together, we wanted to just, we know some people need a little push, to do certain things. And then we did. Look, see, he was excited. He said, whoa, I just discovered a part of me that I never knew existed. So it's now confusing when, because we were, buddies, not like a client that came around, we're buddies, but we decided to, let's do this thing. There is no harm in trying, and all of that. And till date, he's been going on and off that I'm going to get more, I'm going to do this. But if we were like, okay, this is not your thing, of course, we're not going to force it, and all of that. So how do you marry both? Because some people need a little, push, if I must say. Now, not a client therapist now, but it was in that case that we discovered that he needed that little push, and he tried it, and he's so excited. We've not heard, it's been going on. We're all saying, can you calm down? What is it? Can you calm down? He's so excited because he found that he was an artist all along, but did not have the opportunity, or maybe because no one really put it in him to do it. So, what can you say so that people that are struggling in that space, they've not had the environment that can help them, tap into that creative side of them? What would you say to, someone watching this right now?
I think that's an interesting thing that you raise, because you don't always have to go to a therapist to understand, to find a way to find creative expression. The community engagement, back in the day where we used to always gather, there was music, there was singing, there was dancing. It was a form of life. In any kind of culture, we have folk music, folk songs, folk dance, whichever culture it is, whether it's Western or Eastern or Asian, it doesn't matter. It was a way of life. But where is it now? Now you have to pay to go to some place, where a club or a workshop perhaps, where, so I would say, go for it. Try something that you haven't done before. There is this term about leaning into your discomfort. If you're uncomfortable with dance, or uncomfortable with singing in community, go for it. Push yourself. Go somewhere where no one knows you. So even if you make, if you feel you make a fool of yourself, because I wouldn't say you would. No one what does it matter? But that's how you realize, oh, I actually like this thing. Open mic, it could be, or it could be again community dancing. So again, you're not doing it alone, and it's always in community that you heal. Like I said, it's in relation that you heal. So that itself is therapeutic. Art in itself is therapeutic. Not everyone needs to go to a therapist. That is, it's like when you're unwell, you have a fever, you take a paracetamol. You don't always go to the doctor, right? So there are a lot of things that can heal in relationship with friends, with community, and there are certain times when you really need to see a therapist. Or it could be a coach. I see coach on both your. It could be a coach that you're seeing there. So it depends on what your need is. So but artistic engagement, creative engagement in community, it works wonders. And from there, you realize, oh, I like this, because no one really comes to an art therapist without having done some research. Whereas someone might come to a workshop, even knowing it's an art workshop or a dance workshop, and say, I don't know anything. And we say, it's fine. We'll start with, you don't have to know anything, because the quality, we always write the prerequisite is you can be a beginner, any level will do, so we welcome everyone. So my suggestion is to, find a creative outlet and lean into the discomfort. Try a form of art that you haven't tried before, or you feel that you hate, and find out, let's find a way to overcome it. Whether it's, I can't write, I can't sing. But those who say that, I'm sure they'll sing beautifully in the shower. So it's always that feeling of, I'm not good at something. It's that fear, and it's those fears that we deal with in therapy.
Thank you so much, Gracie. It feels like you're about to run, right? Can you guys hear me? I hope you can hear me. Okay. All right. But thank you, Grace, for those beautiful questions. And thank you, Renu, for answering so graciously. So just in case Grace disappears from the screen, it's because she has to get back to class. But thank you for stopping by. Really, really appreciate it. All right. So, Renu, you've worked
Thank you, Renu. Gotta go. Love you. Bye.
Take care, darling. Yeah. So, Renu, you've worked across countries, even not just countries, but regions, continents, so to say. Dubai, the UAE, you've been in Scotland, Europe, India, Asia. I mean, these things come to play. Culture also comes to play. I think some culture are more receptive to the concept of therapy or coaching than others. So with these different cultures that you have experienced, how do you adapt art therapy to resonate with this diverse system? You know, how are you able to break through that barrier of culture?
Oh, that's interesting, because I have been outside my country since I was 7, um, and I think, in terms of what I offer and the kind of conversations we have, the prompts that I offer, we need to be culturally sensitive. Certain things, not all. It depends. I mean, I live in the UAE, so there are times when people come, and it's interesting that they may come thinking I am so and so, but after a while, they do find that the issues they face are similar. So I have learned that, I mean, in terms of the prompts that I give, I just keep it general, nothing that might offend someone's faith or political frame of mind. So that's all I really need to do. But there are also, cultural beliefs and things it's good to be sensitive about, so that when it comes up in discussion, the therapist is aware. But of course, when you're facilitating a workshop, you're not there in the position of a therapist. But it's good to know, what does this mean to that person? Or even in terms of color, a lot of people feel, if they paint everything black, there's something very bad about it. Not
Thinking
necessarily.
about it.
Or the color red, does it mean something is dangerous? Or does it signify? So it, again, that a color could, the importance or the attribute they give to a certain color could vary from culture to culture. The various symbols that they might use, like the butterfly, for example, for some believe in, so it's nice when they are given an opportunity to share what they have
That signifies for
done.
them.
Yes, because some feel it represents someone who has passed away coming back, in the form of a butterfly. There are some who feel it is a symbol of good luck, whereas some it's just an insect, yeah, or that, what I mean. So it could be.
Right.
So just giving them the opportunity. I mean, I have learned so much from that. So yes, and also to not to take things for granted that this could be this, and it can have different
Meanings.
significance for different cultures. That has been interesting. Yeah.
I love
But
it. I love
otherwise,
it. Yeah.
humans are human. I mean, I feel that treat everyone like a human being, because I mean, I really haven't felt the need to do anything particularly unique to any particular culture, because we deal with the emotions, and emotions are universal.
It's universal across
Across.
tribe,
Yes,
across
yes,
nation, across culture.
yes.
I love,
And
love,
it's just
love it.
given
I love
me
it.
an opportunity. But having lived and worked with different cultures, I feel comfortable when people come. So I don't have that fear of will I, is there any cultural inappropriation? Because I'm aware,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah.
So that kind of thing.
Honestly, awareness is such a beautiful thing across board.
I'm not
Like,
afraid. I mean, it's again, some therapists have that fear. I mean, if you've never worked with someone of color, the first time someone of color comes, there is that, there's again that wall that might come up,
oh, I
Uh,
see.
so also, in a lot of my clients, I mean, I would say, the first time I worked in an all white setting was, I wonder whether I would be seen differently. So these questions, it exists. These things
Yeah,
exist, right?
yeah,
So, but then you realize, no, people, people need people,
right.
irrespective of cultural differences.
I love it. And it's
That's bottom line.
beautiful, honestly. It's beautiful to know because it just brings us back to our humanity rather
Mm,
than the things that makes us different. And even with the things that makes us different should keep us curious to know and to
yeah.
learn, basically, right? So now you often talk about creative expression as a form of liberation. Can you share an example of how art you
Mm.
know, whether painting, writing, or ceramics. These are some of your areas, has helped someone unlock healing of self-discovery. Maybe paint a story for us of something that happened to somebody before and after, just to, again, in case somebody is still kind of on the fence and they want to try, this explanation or this story can bring it home for them to say, okay, you know what, maybe I could give this a try.
Well, I think it's I would prefer to use my example rather than
Yes,
somebody else's,
absolutely. Yeah.
because I've always loved art, but I've always done it for myself. I didn't do it to sell. I didn't do it to exhibit. It's just something that brought me joy. But when I was, in a group and everyone was making it, different kinds of, they just said, do what you want. Um, I just found, oh my goodness, I started comparing myself to what everyone else was doing. And then I just sort of, okay, maybe I'm not good enough. That feeling set in. But I started trying what they were doing, different techniques. And it takes a while. It's not you can't do it in one step. And the
Hmm.
next session I found, okay, because nobody was bothered what I was doing. If you want to try what this technique doing, go ahead. No one is stopping you from that. So that's the benefit of when you do something in community. You're learning from each other. You're not copying. We always learn by imitation, but
Hmm.
you're not copying someone. No one's forcing to try one way. Maybe you're not comfortable drawing in this way, so try it another way. How can you, supposing I want to draw a face and I'm not able to draw it with a pencil, is there some
Exactly.
other
Hmm.
tool I can use? Can I use
Hmm.
collage? Can I use paint or stamps? Am I more comfortable using my hands or
Or a
a tool?
brush.
Yes. So you can only learn by experimenting. And something else that helped me was I could was actually going to galleries, because it's not always about making art. That which is an
Hmm.
active form of engagement. There is also passive art engagement, which is viewing art. And this can be done by going to, looking at, going to a gallery, where you're actually looking at paintings and find
Painting.
out. One painting you might just love it, and I think, oh, I hate it. Where something else that I find interesting might not resonate with the other person at all. So there are things like museum therapy, where you have the artifacts, the old things, and you find, oh, I really connect with this. So it's about going and exploring, and it's not just a one time thing. It's about learning
Hmm.
from other people, um, and building, learning techniques, and finding a way to actually express. I for me, using the brush is better than using a pencil. Or some people might want to use just a black pen, perhaps. They just
Hmm.
they don't it doesn't have to be perfect. They can overwrite, so that becomes your style. In a way, it is
Style.
about discovering your style of expression. It's
Yeah.
and not finding somebody's else. It's going beyond the a restrictive method that you have been taught, that makes you feel you're not good enough, and finding
Hmm.
a way to say this is it. Like a child might just draw something, and when you look at it, it just looks like like a face with two long legs, like a tadpole maybe, but they'll explain. There's a story behind it,
Yeah.
because they know what it is. So it's about, what does it mean to you? It's not what does your picture or your image that you create mean to somebody else, but when you see it, does it mean something to you?
To
So
you.
that, yes. So that's something that I have realized by going to the galleries, by reading. When you look at each, when you go to a gallery, under each you'll find
The
something
history,
about.
the story.
Yes, so you learn by just looking at the thing. You learn about who the artist is, and so you find a technique. So that's a way of learning a technique. Okay, I think I can try some of them. Some of the stuff you see in galleries, you say, "Oh, I can do that." You know what I mean? It could be just splotches of color. Then you said, "Oh, I can do this." It doesn't always have to look realistic. They're
Right.
abstract might be your way, your style, and you make it your own. So
Right.
that's what gave me the confidence that I can do it my way. I have choice, and I'm doing it for myself. And
Mm.
I can stick what I want. I can put pictures on it. And I remember I saw someone. They had. You don't have to always paint with paint. There was someone actually
Mhm.
putting liquid soap on something, and then so it's about, and I was wondering what on earth is happening, and then blowing bubbles. They were having fun with it. It's about finding that playfulness, and not being so serious about it, but learning to play with it and see what happens. That, as you said, the
Mm.
curiosity, and yeah, that's when
I
you
love it.
realize the fear has gone.
Yes. I mean, what I hear you say from all you've shared about that is like tapping into the heart psychotherapy helps you connect with yourself.
Indeed.
And the more you do it, the more grounded you are in your decisions, like
Yeah.
the more you touch base with your decisions. And if you can do that with the choice of art and not worried about what other people think about this art, whether it's good enough and all of that, the more confidence you're able to build in your choices, in your decisions. And that could, spiral into every area of your life, because there's a saying that the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And so if you
Mm,
can tap into that art and get to your core, and do the things you feel like, it's almost like you're trusting or learning to trust your gut. And then
yes,
once you get there,
absolutely.
you can apply that same skill or technique to other areas of your life. And I think that is so beautiful. I would love to explore to see where that looks like, right? So um as we're getting ready to wrap up, I want to ask this, and then I'll ask you to tell us about your practice here in the UAE and how people in the UAE can be a part of what you do, and even if you have options for online. But before that is, for those listening and saying, I'm not artistic. I mean, we've said a lot, but just to speak to them directly, that we see you, we hear you, we understand your pain, is to say, how can they begin to use creativity as a tool for emotional well-being, even without formal art skills, or with still carrying on this belief that they're not creative? How can they tap into creativity? How would you tell them? Where would you tell them to start?
Hmm. Start by making a mark. Take a tool of some sort to write with or draw with, or if I'm talking about the visual arts, or take a piece of paper or something and just make any mark, and see what happens with that, and just continue with that, and see where that leads you. And like I said, if you can engage in community, do that. But even if no one is watching, just sing as loud as you can, or just make some movements, swing your arms, swing those hips, and then put on some music and dance and see what happens. No one's watching. You're not doing this for someone else. Understand
Mm.
that you have value, and you are creative. It's about tapping into that and discovering that for yourself. We're all
Right.
creative.
Oh,
Yeah. So
good.
don't let anyone feel that you're not. It's maybe
Right.
you. Yeah, I think it's about redefining um, creativity and understanding.
Mm.
Uh, your style. It's about discovering your style of working. Yeah. Of course,
Right. I love
yeah.
it.
And I just
I
want
love
to add, there's something that I have, this is a discussion, I mean, conversation that happens all the time, is what is different between an art therapist and a coach and things like that. So just important, when you are, if you have access to an art therapist, but a lot of people call themselves art therapists. So an art
Those
therapist
as we
must.
call ourselves coaches as well.
Exactly. A lot, you can be everyone. Again, it depends on where you stay and the license that you're given, all these things. But just when you are going for art therapy, you are investing. It doesn't come free. It's important to know who they should be. They should be someone who has done a 2-year master's, and they should be registered with an art therapy registering body.
Mm.
That is relevant in that country.
Right.
So yes, so it is very important because there are 1 month courses, there are 6 week courses, but that doesn't make them a therapist. Perhaps they become whatever is they're certified to do. But there is a difference between going to a doctor who has studied something for 5 years and someone who might have got a degree in 1 month.
Hmm.
Yeah, so there
Lovely.
is a
Thank you for
difference. So you have
clarifying
to be
that.
aware of that as well. Who you go to, who you open up to, because opening up is easy, but it's what is opened
What
up, and then
happens
what
afterwards?
happens after? Yes, what is open must be closed, right? So it's about yeah, it's important to know that because yeah, and it's not it is a course of treatment. It's not a one-off. You can't go to a
It's not a
therapist and
fix.
expect
It's not a fix. It's a
it's I mean
process.
we can't just wave a wand and paint one thing and everything is sorted. It's run the work with the
Right.
therapist and decide on how long you can commit to it. Otherwise, don't
Hmm.
start it. It's important.
Right.
I can
Thank
because it
you.
can do there are some things that can do more harm than good. So it's like a
Right.
course of
Hear you.
antibiotics. Even if you're doing a
Hmm.
course of antibiotics, then you have to do it for 5 days. Take the tablet for
Hmm.
5 days. It's
Unless
not
yeah,
yes, what
I hear
it's
you.
one is so it's kind of like that. It is a treatment. It is an allied health profession.
Hmm.
um, so it is so it has to run the course. There are well-being workshops. One off is fine, so that's a good way to try something, whether it's am I responding, am I connecting with this kind of thing. So you can try that
Hmm.
workshops in the beginning. A lot of people offer art-based workshops, music-based workshops, dance, even theater. Wonderful things available all around in every country. I know that in Nigeria, particularly, there are a lot of people
Yeah.
focus on the arts in health. Yes, yes, very much so. Uh, and yes, so yeah, engage.
Be
Don't
aware, aware, and engage
don't be
wisely.
alone. Don't be alone. Engage in community. Engage with the arts in community.
Hmm.
Is what I would say.
Love it. Love it. I was so into the conversation. I didn't see the comments coming in earlier, but
Oh,
sweet Millicent Carbuncle has been here all along, and it's 1 a.m. where she is, but she joined. So thank you. I really needed to shout out to you, Millicent. Thank you for joining us. She said she believed the moment you say I can't, you take away your chance. And so it's taking back that power using art therapy. And she said also that I was not good at painting. I learned wood carving and made frames for art. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Millicent. And she just said it's 1 a.m. here. Oh, it's now 3 a.m. where she is. And she's wishing us a Zen day. We're wishing you one as well. But yeah, thank you so much, Renu, for also pointing that out. Like when it comes to art therapy or art psychotherapy, it's a process and it has to go through its due course. And so if you're doing that, you're better be doing it with somebody who is qualified, who is trained and in that area. And I think that's really important. Now talk to us about your practice here in the UAE. Say somebody is watching this now or they're going to watch this later and say, you know what, I want to give this a shot. How can they connect with you? How do you operate and how can they be a part of what you do?
so in Dubai, I practice. At the moment, I'm facilitating well-being workshops, art-based well-being workshops. You can just connect with me on Instagram. That's the best way to know when and where I do these things. And I also do online art therapy. Again, Instagram would be the best way to connect.
All right, fantastic. So you've heard it. Please connect with Renu on Instagram. And I think the handle is what's the handle again?
Art
Just share
speaks.
my Art Speaks Wellness, right? On Instagram, Art Speaks Wellness on Instagram. So you can follow her there to know if she's having any workshops here in the UAE and you can be a part of that. I mean, I hope you go around the UAE, like the different Emirates, or
Yeah.
are you just, oh, fantastic. All
At
right.
the,
So
at the moment, it's only Dubai. Yes, but
in Dubai,
online, yes, online workshops. I mean, I do some not workshops as such, but there are some online things I do to connect,
sessions.
to bring about
Ah,
connection.
okay.
And
Okay, okay.
definitely one-on-one sessions online.
All right, all right. Yeah. So please check out Art Speaks Wellness on Instagram, and check the website as well, so that you can have access to all the different programs and workshops that Renu might be putting together. Thank you so much, Renu, for being here today, for sharing your story, your journey, and giving us more insights about art psychotherapy and how it can actually help us be well mentally, physically, and emotionally. If you're going to leave us with a last or final word, what would your word be as we wrap up this session?
You have value. You're worth
Yes.
it. Yeah.
Oh, love it. Did you hear that? You have value and you are worth it. Never forget that. All right. Thank you so much for being a part of the conversation today for Wellness Conversation October Wellness Conversation, and this pop up session just talking about wellness generally and looking at the different aspects of wellness. Looking forward to having another session soon. And we're looking at maybe diving into a little bit of domestic violence and how people who are probably going through that right now can begin to have a mental shift on how they can get help and how they can, recover from such experiences. So be on the lookout for that. I mean, October is fast ending. Like the month, I can't believe it. Like, when did October start? And why is it ending so fast? But yeah, 2025 is wrapping up quickly. And I hope that you are positioning yourself to end strong and also get into the new year strong. But until our next pop up session, this is the Energetic Day, and this is your voice, your impact show. God bless you. See you next time.